Liat, welcome.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Welcome to the show. Is that your intro song?
No, I decided my intro song is La Isla Bonita by Madonna.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just want to shimmy, pretend you're listening to it. It's a vibe.
I love how you're like, what's up, what's up, what's up? Why did that sound so masculine?
Well, my balls are heavy, so it's on point. It's on point with my branding.
Actually, that's a perfect segue that you mentioned balls, because we're going to be talking about photographing couples naked
Yep.
in all their glory.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to be naked. It's totally within their control, what they show, what they don't show.
Yeah.
It's whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat more about this because, like, your work, first of all of your work, like your wedding photography, your couples, and on top of that, your steamy sessions, your nude sessions, like everything. I'm just like, what? How did she see it from that perspective? And like the emotion that you get, I'm like, oh, it's just drool worthy. So I'm so excited for everyone to learn from you today.
I'm just going to stop you right there and take a note from my hero, RuPaul, and be the capitalist that he is. I will follow in his footsteps and say, my full name is Liat Aharoni, and you can find me at www.liataharoni.com, spelled Liataharoni. I don't know what kind of podcasting voice I'm having right now. This is not how I normally talk, but I really like it.
She was brainstorming her podcast voice before this, but it didn't take much time. She was just like, can I just use this voice the whole time? I'm like, whatever you want, Liat. Oh my God. My free-spirited little animal.
Meow.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so first question that I know I'm very curious about is like, what even inspires you to document couples naked and to photograph them in that way? Like, where does the inspiration come from? Where do you feel drawn to do that and to offer that?
Girl, we're going to go straight into it, aren't we?
Yeah.
This is like hitting deep. I feel like this is the most vulnerable question that you can start off with, and I love it so much. I would say for a long time, I was always gravitating towards photographing nudity because for me, clothes can visually look like a distraction. And so removing that from the equation allows for more artistic, emotive work to be creative, to be created. The lines, like all of the lines that you can create, it's just, for me, it's like dance, like it's for the purpose of art.
Yeah.
And I think something that was so important for me on that note was that nudity isn't inherently sexual. Like we could be both naked right now.
Yeah, which we talked about. We're like, how funny would it be if because we're also like recording this for YouTube for later days for me to post on YouTube. So yeah. So we're like, how hilarious would it be if we just were naked and we had all our bits just like
next time.
Yeah, next time.
That's for the next recording we do. But for me, nudity isn't inherently sexual, and that was so important to make it known that you don't have to be a part of a session and make it erotic or make it sexual. Like there's so much more nuance and depth that comes with being photographed that way. It's vulnerable. You can nurture a sense of intimacy. It could be artistic. Like it doesn't even have to be you. Like you could, it could be for, the purpose of art, or you could be focusing to show different aspects of your relationship outside of just your sexual one with your partner by yourself or whatever it may be. In this case, we're talking about two people because it's photographing couples, naked or semi-naked. And I think I've come to realize that it's more nuanced than that for me. And I have my own sexual struggles that I've struggled with for so long. And I feel like in a way I gravitate towards this because it's like a rebellious act for me of saying like, fuck you, inner psyche. Like I could get past all of my own bullshit in my head and explore and discover more in my own personal journey, in my own personal sexual journey, despite feeling debilitated, despite feeling paralyzed in so many ways in my own personal sexual self. So I think it's kind of all of that, because it doesn't have to be sexual, but then fuck yes, why not make it sexual? Another thing that comes to mind is when I first started photographing. I mean, this is a total tangent and
I love tangents.
Not really related, but I feel like you'll enjoy this. When I first started, I went to visit my grandparents. They don't live in Canada. And my grandfather is like such a character, let's just put it that way. And he asked me what I'm doing. This was, after I graduated politics at U of T. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to become a wedding photographer. And he's like, what? There's no money in that. You should go into porn. You should be photographing sex. And it's kind of come full circle. Oh, I mean, I don't photograph porn, but I feel like
he literally said that though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Which is incredible. And I think that's something that is, I've been ruminating about lately, because I would love to photograph a sexual act, but make it artistic. I do not want to go into porn. Let's just start with that. But
like between lovers and couples, between souls. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah. I love how you've just described like so many layers to what inspires you. Like, you were so clearly, I didn't know I was asking a very, very deep question, but I love how you just went through all of those layers. And I love how you said that you kind of saw clothing as a distraction, which I'm like, oh my God, that is so fascinating. And then you going into explaining how there's just different lines that you can artistically see through the human body. I'm like, that is so true. Just the way two people fit together. Now that you described it that way, I see that more in your work. When two bodies are like side by side, you see how the two bodies are like create these lines that are so unique between those two specific people, and you can't recreate it with anyone else. And I'm like, whoa, that just blew my mind with how you just explained that.
Thank you.
And I'm actually so curious, because you mentioned that you went I think we all have our ups and downs and struggles and trying to figure out our own sexuality and everything that, we're attracted to in that sense, and everything that maybe we need to dismantle in our beliefs and all of that. So I love that you also shared that's just part of you being human as well, because we all deal with it. So I'm curious, your journey to like, self-discovery in that aspect, do you also feel like you offering this type of experience for couples is a part of your drive to do that, to help them feel more open or explore their sexuality or openness to their sexuality in a way as well, or intimacy? Because again, like you said, it can be either sexual or it could be not sexual to be in the nude, right? So do you have like some kind of drive to create some sort of experience for your couples in that sense?
I am fascinated by psychology, and I think in another lifetime I would love to be a social worker. Is it a direct part of the experience now? I feel like that's something that is always there, but sort of takes a backseat. I think it's important to be able to read the room and read the energy of what people need in that moment, because some people, just whip off their clothes and they're like, fuck yeah, let's go. They don't need it to be a therapy session. They don't need it to be a transformative psychological experience. They just want to fucking make it happen and have a good time. But then other people, maybe there is that block. Maybe they do need a hand to help guide them. And it's all valid, and it's all so fascinating. So I love being there for it all. And I feel like when it's necessary, I'm happy to be that cheerleader and give that experience to someone in need. But by no means is that something that I assume everybody is looking for.
I love that answer. So good. And now that leads me to wondering, and I know the listeners are wondering this, it's like, okay, so then how do you even go about offering these? Like, you showcase them within your feed, within your work. So do you kind of let couples that are interested in those types of sessions come to you and inquire? Or is there even a point where, maybe a couple has an engagement session booked with you with their wedding collection, and is there a point that you even suggest a nude session with them? Like, how do you go about figuring out who you're going to photograph in that kind of way?
I always plant the seed in the sense that, I'm posting online, I make it known, I have it in my wedding guide that there's steamy sessions that I offer, but I'm not going to approach any client and be like, hey, do you want to take your clothes off? Like, that is not the vibe that I want to give off. I've done styled shoots where I have approached people and been like, hey, I have this amazing, exciting idea that I see in my head and I want to create. Would this be something you're open to? But I'm not going to approach a paying client and bring it up, because I think I make it known enough that if they want to, they can approach me.
Yeah. Okay. The reason I asked that question is I think so many photographers we think, but to book someone for a wedding, that's kind of quote unquote normal. It's just like part of it's just normal, quote unquote, right? Then to book an engagement session, it's quote unquote normal. And then it's like, but how do you think of nudity because it's still not normalized as it should be, right?
Yeah.
And it's still seen like sexual. It's still sexualized, right?
At least in North America. I think in Europe it's very different.
That's very true. Like France.
Hello.
Yeah. But
see you there soon.
I think a lot of the time we can go down this like rabbit hole of all these like fears and thoughts of like, but I don't even know how I would offer that. Like, I'm very drawn to doing that and offering that for an artistic reasons or for experiential reasons that I want to give clients, but I just don't know how I would do it, right? And then you get stuck as an artist and then you don't offer it, then you don't feel fulfilled. But your answer, you pretty much just said that you do what everybody else in photography does. You show what you want to shoot, and the people that feel drawn to it will book you for it. And it's pretty much as simple as that. And especially that you just have it in your PDF. When people reach out to inquire with you for your wedding photography, you just have a dedicated space in there saying, hey, this is available to you. I'd love to create in this way with you. And that's it. That's all you really have to do. And it's not that scary. Right?
Yeah.
I love that.
It doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah. And actually, okay, so now someone's listening and they're like, but then when you actually get to the shoot and it's time to be like, okay, it's time to take your clothes off. And like you said, everyone is so different. You have to read the room, the energy of the couple. Like some are more timid and need more guidance, and some are like, yeah, I'm ready for this. And they just get naked right away. What is your process to, I guess, earning the trust of your couples to make that a more seamless transition? Or like, where do you even start with explaining the expectations of like, okay, this is when we get naked and this is how I want you to feel? And I'm like, yeah, let us know about that.
It is all about communication, and it is all about establishing yourself as the professional. I'd like to think of myself sometimes as Shangela because she is a professional.
Who? Shangela
Laquifa Wadley. As you can tell, I am obsessed with Drag Race. It's really essential to recognize that you might have done this a bajillion times, but for most people, it is their first time being photographed, probably professionally. And you need to establish what's going on. You need to set the expectations before you even meet them in person. Let them know the entire time from the first email. You have to establish yourself as the experienced professional, and make sure that nothing is ever a surprise.
Yeah.
Right? So describe your approach. Are they expected to join the collaboration? Like, will they have to come up with poses, or because you take like a backseat approach to that and you're just shooting candid only? Or are you going to guide them the whole time? Like, what are they going to expect on the day of? Give them advice on makeup, and make it seem as though you know exactly what you're doing and what they can expect, so that everything's easy and comfortable. I always tell people in regards to makeup to make sure that you wear an amount, if you do decide to put on makeup, an amount that is natural to you, because you want to be able to recognize yourself. Yeah. And so nothing too cakey. And I find that sometimes makeup artists will say, oh, like, make sure you wear TV makeup. It's not
No.
like that for photographers. I've never met a photographer who said, yeah, that's the look.
Yeah.
If you don't recognize yourself as a client, you will not like your photos because you won't be able to see the person. Make sense?
100%. And feel good in your skin. And that's number one.
Yeah,
Number
the
one
whole
is to feel
experience.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Send out a form and ask them specific questions so you're able to personalize the experience. What kind of music do they like?
Yeah.
Do they want to create a playlist? Maybe they like something like super sexy, or maybe they like metal. I don't know, like whatever makes them feel comfortable, because you're creating an experience for them. And you want to make sure that it's one that, you know, is sentimental and meaningful for them specifically. Maybe you want to buy them a bottle of booze just to kind of, you know, let their guard down and like make them comfortable.
Loosey-goosey.
Exactly. But maybe they're also people who don't drink. Ask them that in their form.
Exactly. Yep.
You know, show them galleries. Obviously, you need permission from past clients.
Yeah.
But if you have, you know, previous work, show them and include diversity in your galleries. You know, that way they're able to see if you highly edit skin, or if you keep things, you know, really natural looking, so that when they get their photos, it's not a shock. They know exactly what kind of photos to expect, especially when it comes to, you know, photographing people's bodies. Like, that's so vulnerable for most people. You don't want them to get their photos and be like, oh my God, that's what I look like, in a bad way. And setting expectations by showing previous work is so good for that, because you're showing them exactly what kind of aesthetic you're able to offer, what type of, you know, in terms of editing, but also in terms of posing and general vibes and all of that.
Yeah. That was so good. It's so in depth. I love that. Okay, so now take me, because I know the listeners are like, okay, but take me now to the moment, the pinnacle moment of, okay, you're now there in person. All of these beautiful expectations have been set.
Yeah.
And it's now time, especially I think maybe let's think of like someone who's literally just getting into this, just getting started. It's going to be a normal human response to like be nervous, to like, because you want to make sure they feel comfortable, and you also just want to like be comfortable in the presence of nude people as you transition into getting comfortable with it, right? Which is totally okay. How do you navigate that moment of like, okay, it's time to like, how do you read the room first if they're ready? And then how do you just transition into that moment? Maybe if you can give an example for two different types of scenarios, like one where you can tell energetically they are more shy and they're like, holy shit, this is about to happen. Why did we commit to this? And then the number two where they're like, okay, like, do we take our clothes off now? And like, maybe give us examples of how you'd approach both scenarios.
I would approach both scenarios in the exact same way. I wouldn't see myself as the director. I would see myself as the observer, and not intuitively, no. I would make sure that I'm able to communicate, and that I do communicate well in advance before any clothes come off, that they are in control. You know, like, it's not like I'm saying to people, okay, now take your clothes off, guys. It's time. It's not time. It's time when they want to make it time.
Yeah.
And so before my camera even comes out, I always give a spiel. I always tell people nothing happens that they don't want to happen. They are in complete control. They don't have to be naked. They can take as many clothes off as they want, and they could leave their clothes on if they want. Every decision they make is valid.
Yeah.
And it's completely up to them if and when they do anything. And that I'm there to cheer them on. And if they decide they don't want to, that's great too.
Oh my gosh, I think it's so powerful what you just said. Even I'm like learning so much even in this moment with, for some reason, I'm assuming that when someone commits to doing a steamy session and they're like, yeah, we want to do this with you. Okay, they've booked it. It's now the day. They're there, right? You assume that it's a done deal. It's going to be a nude session. Like, but wait a second, no, what if in that moment they didn't realize that they would actually feel uncomfortable? How traumatizing would it be for them to feel pressured, even if you're not putting on pressure? It's just the you didn't like give them permission to back out of it just in case. And I think that is actually so important and powerful to note, and I'm just like so impressed with you that
Thanks,
you're
Sarah.
so empathetic in that sense to them.
I think learning sex is a skill. It's something that many people need to work on. And my job is like foreplay. My job is being able to, you know, it's not just going straight into it. Like sex is not just penetrative, and neither is this. The experience is not just getting, you know, people's clothes off and taking pictures of them. It's so much more than that. And it's being able to create a safe space where people feel comfortable and excited and want to participate. I'm not going to force anyone to do anything.
Yeah,
that's freaking creepy.
Just because they booked it.
Consent is important.
Totally. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting because even if you think about, if we're gonna like go into even, you know, people exploring their sexuality and possibly thinking about having a threesome with their partner, just because maybe they fantasize about it in their heads and they're like, you know what, I really enjoy that. Maybe that time comes around, everything is set up, you're having that night and you're there, the three of you, but in that moment, maybe you realize, oh, you know what, I think I'd rather this just stay a fantasy. I'm realizing that this isn't meant for me. And I think it's like, that's what you're doing is you're giving them that permission to just like they are in control. They're going to decide the scenario. And so you've probably, I'm guessing you had sessions where they decided, you know what, like we're just feeling really good just staying in our clothes or like staying in our bra and underwear. And you're like, cool, like that's amazing. Have you had that happen, or have most of them still been like, no, like we knew we wanted to do a nude session and that's what we're doing?
No, for sure. I've had people who've decided to change their mind. And I would also say, I love your threesome analogy. And I think it doesn't even have to be something as, I don't know if I'd use the word courageous, but like something as out there as a threesome. I think even just the idea of having sex, you could change your mind while having sex.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so important to know and be able to read your body and to be connected and in tune with yourself, because your body could physically, you know, be saying one thing and your mind could be saying the other. And I think for me, sometimes like I have that disassociation, and I think that's why it's so important for me to be able to make sure that never happens, and that I'm, you know, not being a creep and like not doing anything that would create a terrible traumatic experience for somebody. I think it also really helps the fact that I'm a woman. I love, you know, I have been photographed naked by men and women, and surprisingly it was comfortable with a man photographing me naked. I was kind of shocked about that, but he's amazing. Shout out to Ollie Sansom. But I think it's really hard I would assume it's harder for male photographers, especially in the age of Me Too, to offer a boudoir service and not have to think about all of this really, really thoroughly. 'Cause it's such a precarious environment to be in, and you want to make sure that you are professional at all times and incorporating, you know, important boundaries in your photography approach.
Yeah. Well, I love how and have you been able to like just figure this out kind of intuitively through understanding your own self as a human and then incorporate it into your business? Or have you taken bits and pieces also as an inspiration of other photographers that photograph nude with their approaches? It's probably both, right? It's obviously both, because that's how we become artists, right?
Yeah, I would say my photography inspirations for nudity is really through fine art photographers, Brooke Shaden, Miss Aniela. Like, whoa, when I first started photography, that's all I ate. Like, I wanted to eat that up. That was just so yummy. Like that type of, it's just visual deliciousness. And I think it's just doing a lot of personal work on myself and being interested in, you know, self-care, self-growth,
And also probably being photographed naked as well to understand what it feels like on the other side so that you know how to nurture your clients.
Ooh,
right?
I think, yeah, that's a huge learning lesson each time being photographed by somebody else, but let's not get into that.
Yeah, always so many learning lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this is such a great conversation. I'm like, I always love going into every like podcast chat like this with no expectations. That's just my motto. But I'm like, whoa, this is going deeper than I could have even imagined. And I
Your
love
titties
it.
are on fire.
You know me. I don't like my fucking small talk. I love this shit.
Same. So how's the weather, Sarah?
Yeah, how's the weather?
How are you feeling?
Do you have 20 minutes?
I do.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what else did I want to ask you here? We went into so
Have
much.
you ever photographed anyone naked?
No. What? Yes, I did. I have a story.
I'm all ears.
You actually, I'm like, no,
I'm taking control of your podcast show now. The tables have turned.
So there was one, like, I think it was like 6 years ago where I met up. It's when I still used to do in-person meetings as part of my workflow with clients, with wedding clients.
Do you remember when I used to make dinner for clients?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my
Off
God.
topic.
Bless your little fucking heart. I remember that. So yeah, when I used to have that part be part of my workflow, we were just chilling in a cafe talking about their wedding plans. I was putting together the wedding photo timeline, and she's like, "Okay, I actually have an ask of you." And they're like like you could tell they're just such an open like couple. Like I just love their energy, no judgment type of people, so loving. And so I just had this vibe that they were just very like open sexually and in that kind of way. And then she's like, you know what? I really have like an ask for you, but like you don't have to feel pressured to do it if you don't want to do it. I'm like, okay, what is this ask? And she's like, so I think it would be so amazing for me to just like have a memory of how sexy he is in this chapter of our lives right now, exactly as he is. And she's like, so during the getting ready part of the day, would you be able to document him like
a boudoir session?
Yeah, a boudoir. Exactly. Nude, but like him taking his clothes off from the normal clothes and then photographing him nude in the transition and a couple like pose nude portraits and then into his like groom situation suit.
Obsessed.
So, and I'm very open and like I love people feeling loved, like showing people that I'm there to love them no matter. Like, I just don't judge people in that way. I'm like, no, I want you to fucking feel welcome and be who you are in front of me. I'm like, oh my God, of course I can do that 100%. They're like, are you sure you're comfortable with that? I'm like, yeah, like I want to make you guys happy. And that's an incredible way for you to have that memory. So the day comes and it was so funny because Rory I'm like leaving the house and I told him what they asked me, right? And then that morning when the wedding came around, I'm like, all right, well, I'm off to shoot a penis. And he's like, have fun with that.
Amazing.
And so like in that moment, what I did was there was this one moment where he shooed his groomsmen out of the room because he knew it was like the moment. And
so they weren't all getting naked together?
No.
Okay, just wanted to confirm
Yeah.
that. Wasn't going to be a circle jerk, okay?
Yeah, no. And his guys were like, what's going on? He's like, I just need a moment alone. Like, they're like, okay. He closes the door and I could tell in that moment he was nervous. And then, of course, I was nervous because, like, I've never done that before. Yeah. And in that moment, I'm like, Sarah, you don't even fucking get to be nervous for 2 seconds. It's not about you in this moment. It's about him. He needs to feel comfortable. It's his wedding day on top of that. He can't have this in the back of his mind the rest of the day being like, did I make that awkward? Like, no, it's not about you. And in that moment, all my nervousness went away. And I just confidently was like, all right. Like, so literally you just like, it's like, I've never done it before, but all my natural like senses just told me what to do.
You know what I'm imagining in my head?
What are you imagining?
That in that moment, you were so anxious that all you did was yell out, penis!
No. Imagine. Who can say it louder? No, so I was like, all right, so it's up to you. Like, you just like, so naturally take off your clothes at your own pace, like whatever. You don't even have to do it if you don't have to do it. Like, just like do your thing and I'll just shoot it candidly, and then let me know if you want a couple pose ones, and if not, that's cool too, like whatever. So he just candidly did it. I just was shooting that, and he's like, actually, yeah, can you get me one from like this angle and this angle? I'm like, yeah, okay, stand here, white wall, non-distracting background, cool, got that. And I was just like being confident in it, and it made him, I could tell it made him feel so much more confident, and it was a very interesting experience. I'm just so happy that I did it and was able to give them that gift that they really wanted. So that's my one experience.
I love that so much, and I'm surprised. I totally thought you would have done a bajillion. So that's really cool to know that you had this one experience like 8 years ago.
I know, I
think it's time for another nudes for another penis. That was a terrible joke. I am 15 years old at heart. I think other things I can say about some things that I do to start building trust with clients during the session itself is to not start so close to them. I think it's important to photograph context. I find that oftentimes when I bring on second photographers or train assistants and things like that, they go so close to people because it's like you want to capture somebody's essence and like you just got to go like so close to them. And you don't want to do that, especially, when you're first,
connecting
photographing people and they're just taking their clothes off and feel like they're on a roller coaster of doom. Like that's not where you want to be. You want to be able to, use a wide lens, take some steps back, give them space so that they're able to settle into it. And then slowly go closer and closer if you want to. Yeah. Or use, different lenses. You maybe try an 85 or a 105 or whatever it is, with your style of shooting. Yeah.
That's a great tip. And then you can just, intuitively and energetically, there's like music playing and maybe there's a song that comes on that you can tell their energy shifts and they're like, oh, this is like so our song. They feel more comfortable. So yeah, that's
like great foreplay, guys.
Yeah, pretty much. Gotta warm them up. Gotta butter them up. No, I don't use butter.
Coconut
oil. Okay. Actually, one question that I did have, I'm so curious about it. Like, if someone's like, I don't know what to do with my eyes, right? Like, so is there times where you like look away, or is there time, or are you like, no, it's part of the process where I'm just there and I'm observing and I'm looking and they're used to it by now? Like, do you look at bits or do you not look at bits? Like, how do you navigate that?
Great question, Sarah. I do not look at bits. Okay. That is my personal preference. I think just like if they were wearing clothes, I would not be looking at you, right? With my eyes down to your tits, Sarah. So why would it change?
That's actually very true. And I think, you know what it is? It's just so...
Now I'm looking at your tits.
It's yeah. No, you know what it is? It's the whole phenomenon in our mind. Like, don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant.
Don't press that red button. Yeah. And then you want to press.
It's like, you can't help but think of it. So yeah. And it's also like this, everything on a human body, for example, on a man, it's like all smooth upper body, penis, all smooth legs down there. It's like this thing that's just like poking out. It's like, of course you're gonna see it like in your peripherals as you're focusing on their connection, just like you would at any other session. Yeah. You're gonna, in your peripherals, you're gonna see the whole human. But yeah, you don't like...
I guess for me, and maybe that's my challenge, because for me, like, I've never been turned on during a session. I like really don't see it in a sexual capacity. Yeah. I really just see it as lines, just like how most photographers will say that once they started photographing, they see light differently. Mm-hmm. I think it's the same. It's in a similar fashion where like I just see lines. Yeah. I don't see genitals. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not even thinking about someone's penis.
Do you think, are you overthinking in your head ever of like, do they think I'm looking at their thing? Like, do they like, cause I'm scared that I would do that. I'd be like, do they think that I'm looking there, but I'm really not? Like, I don't want them to think I'm looking there. That whole mind fuck that you can have.
But I feel like you would be so good at that because so strong and charismatic you're so strong at making people feel comfortable and creating a connection with people very, very quickly. And why would that change? You know, like if you were feeling awkward, then make a joke about it. Be like, hey, there's titties.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like maybe don't
no,
say
no,
that.
no, but like to the right couple that I know would find that funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. But see, I feel like I would do well. And I mean, I did have that one experience and I did do well, but
you didn't,
what if
you didn't
it's,
yell at Peanut.
yeah. What if it's someone who it does feel like they
Yeah.
are still growing in that aspect of learning how to make people feel comfortable and they get too in their heads? I feel like I'm really good at being present when I'm focusing on being present because through meditation, and I've worked on that part of me so much. But what if someone's just starting their journey on not letting their thoughts overwhelm them and give them anxiety in a moment and then spiraling out of control? Like what tips would you have for someone that is maybe photographing a nude couple and then they're noticing that their thoughts are taking over? What if they're not comfortable? And then they block themselves off from intuitively reading the room and the energy. Like how would you have them get back to that presence?
I would ask yourself, why is this the reaction I'm having? Because it's probably just a projection of something about you, something that, you know, you're feeling. And what is that? Where is that coming from? And then go from there.
Yeah, get curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the moment, when you don't have time,
what to do, and you don't have time
when you don't have time to like sit down, journal,
acknowledge the fact that this is how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to say that out loud, you can. I probably wouldn't personally, but I think,
yeah, maybe not, because then they might get.
I think something important to remember is that we are in a service industry, and we are being hired to photograph people on days that are self-indulgent, whether that's, you know, their wedding day or, you know, being photographed in this way. It's a luxury. You know, they're spending a fuck ton of money to have this experience. And I don't say self-indulgence in a negative connotation. It's incredible. I sell it. Like I love days where I indulge in myself. It's the fucking best. Like all I need is like a huge roll of brie cheese and a massage, and I'm good. But it's not about us. At the end of the day, like you have to take yourself out of this, because you're not there for you. Like you don't matter in this. You know what I mean? Like it's really about them and their experience, and you catering them to having a positive experience out of
I
this.
love that you said that, because actually it's so funny that you said that, because that's exactly what got me out of that, like what stopped that spiral of thinking when I had to photograph the naked groom. As soon as I got nervous, I'm like, oh no, if I get nervous, I'm gonna affect his experience.
No, but you're just making it about you in that moment.
It's not about me.
It's your
just
own
like
ego.
Say that in your mind, and then you'll snap out of it. So just say, it's not about me. How can I do the best possible job I can? It's about them. How can I look for their connection? Let me pay attention to them. As soon as you take the focus off yourself and put it onto them, you're going to get all your answers in that moment of what to do and how to make them feel comfortable.
That's just your ego talking, boo-boo.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So I think I feel really good. Is there anything else that you have on your heart, on your mind that you want to share? Maybe just a tip on how someone can just book like their very first session, like very first nude session, maybe for their portfolio. Maybe they don't have any examples yet. How would they even get started?
Shoots.
Yeah. And set expectations.
Ask your friends.
Yeah.
Ask your parents. Don't ask your parents. That's the weirdest thing. You know,
or not. Maybe it's not the weirdest thing. Right?
Choices. Yeah, if you want something, create your own opportunities and go get it.
Yes.
Don't just wait and be like, oh, when is someone going to ask me? I really want to shoot people naked. Oh, this isn't happening. No, create your own opportunities.
Yeah. Ask yourself the right questions. What would I have to do
to make this happen?
Who would I have to
make
ask?
it happen?
Yeah.
get to work.
Yeah. And rewind this episode and go back, and because Liat had some amazing suggestions on how to communicate expectations, how to make people feel comfortable even before the session. So make sure to take notes and have that in your email of when you're looking for, a couple to initially photograph this way. So you can make it happen for yourself. You got this. And again, I love this. Whenever I feel like nervous or terrified to try something new in my life or business and grow to the next level, I just look to the person that has made it possible for themselves in their lives. And I say, if it's possible for them, it's possible for me. So Liat is a beautiful example of that. So if it's possible for her, it's possible for you too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you, Liat. This was so amazing that you just added so much value to this podcast, to my listeners. I love these deep conversations, and yeah, just so grateful for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Congratulations on your baby. I'm so excited to meet baby.
Oh, and tell everybody where they can find you. That is
my Instagram is liat.a.
liat.a.
Yeah, my name's Liat. I hope you all have a wonderful day.
There you go. Go connect with her. If you got a nice tidbit of inspiration, let her know. Because
feel free to ask me if you guys have any questions. I also do mentorships.
There you go.
I'm here for you.
There you go. Awesome.
Peace.
Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.